Hi everyone, Jen here for Country Craft Creations today, and I would like to show you my a walkthrough of my completed Simple Stories Simple Vintage Berry Fields album. I've shown a couple sneak peeks as well as a really sped up walkthrough of this album. When I did my decorating, I did make a few changes to some of the pages, and my tutorial that follows this walkthrough will show you the basics of how to put your spine piece in, how to make the signatures, and some of the parts of the signatures. But like I said, I did make a few changes, and I just want to go over those. So hopefully you have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil so that you can write down the notes that I am going to give you on that. So I embellished the front. Now I did a double mat on my cover and my spine and my back of my book, and I used it's available in the store. It is the Carta Bella printed cardstock. These are the solids, and I've used burgundy and denim in my book. Those colors go really well with this Simple Stories collection. There are the Simple Stories solids that go with this collection as well, and they work as well, and I did use them. So that being said, I have a mixture of different flowers from my stash. These fun little denim doilies that I had in my stash. I just love them. The blue goes really well, and I've had them forever. If you don't have denim doilies, which most likely you probably don't, you can cut some. If you have a die, you could cut some blue doilies with the paper on your Cricut. Or if you have a punch that makes this edge, you can do that as well. Or like I said, a die. So I've done that. And then I used a wrapped chipboard piece in that denim blue, and I added some jute around it and some little blue flat back pearls. This is probably my favorite paper in this collection, is this stripe. And you will see inside the book, I did use this quite a bit. And I liked it so much that I didn't embellish the spine any further. I just left it. And then the back is just a continuation of that paper there. I've used a ribbon closure, and it is a burgundy colored wide ribbon that I had in my stash. I do believe this is a 1-inch ribbon, 3/4. Well, actually, it's about 7/8. So it's just a satin wide burgundy colored ribbon that went really well with the paper. I added a little bit of twine that I had from an older design team package. I will check and put it below if you can still get this at Country Craft Creations. And I also believe you can get some of these flowers. So let's open this up, and I will show you everything inside that I've done with my decorating and let you know measurements and differences. So one of the things that I did is I added these pockets here, and these are just my inserts. And I used some bits and pieces of paper that I'd left over. So I used some of the jars here, a strip of the plaid green here, which is the back side. I do believe that is the back side of one of the element sheets. And I don't have any more of those left, so I can't really be sure. I've used pretty much this entire collection. Yes, it is the back side of the larger elements sheet. I used scraps that I had left over. I cut out these mason jars. I inked all of the edges along with all the decorative paper inside. I've inked with the Vintage Photo Distress ink, and I've made my own paper clips. I attached this first to lightweight chipboard, put the paper clip down, punched a circle out of another scrap of paper, and used the handy dandy new We Are Memory Keepers handheld glue gun. These are great, and these are available at Country Craft Creations. And that just slips in there. This is a 1/2-inch gusseted pocket that measures, well, it'd be 5 3/4, the same width of the paper or pages, and then it is 3 inches. So this is a 6 3/4 by 3 1/2 pocket piece of the paper, and then 1/2-inch scores on both sides and across the bottom. And then I use some of the ephemera that come in the bits and pieces. So then my inserts, I've done a simple ivory cardstock, heavy cardstock from my stash, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and use the 4 by 6 bingo card for that, the cut apart. This is one of the 4-inch elements, and I have added a sticker from the sticker sheet and a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 bifold. And then this is just one of the cute little bingo cards that came in one of the ephemera packs. And I liked how that looked, so I stuck it in the pocket. So signature 1, we'll start here. I did this, the front, exactly as it's shown in my tutorial. I did add one of the elements here, and I added a photo mat on the Craft Artisan that measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then the back was matted for a photo mat with that ivory heavy cardstock I was speaking of. And then, of course, that gorgeous red stripe that you can see I've used again, 4 5/8 by 6 5/8. Okay. And then I added this fun corner pocket. It is gusseted with 1/2-inch gussets, and there is a magnet inside the paper under this pocket, and then above here at the tab. Okay. So the back side is where I did differently. I deterred a little bit from what I say in the tutorial. So in the tutorial that follows, I originally had a small 5 1/2 by 3 1/2 inch gusseted keepsake pocket here. This is the same with this flap, but what I did differently is I really liked this homegrown element from the element sheet, and I just turned this into a tuck spot by gluing across the bottom and top and down this side. And then I used my tab punch board and made this fun little card with one of the stickers sticking out that says sweet. And I can tell you that this measures 5 by 3 3/4. So this paper originally was 4 1/2 by 5 before I cut the tab with my tab punch board. I just liked how that looked with that cute little saying sticking out. So that's the difference there. The signature number 2, I did pretty close to exact. So this is the pocket, side pocket that is mentioned in the tutorial. And then I have paper here and 2 photo mats. This one was cut. These are both using that heavier weight ivory cardstock from my stash and the 4 by 6 element. This is one of the solid colors, coordinating solids that you can get that I cut to 5 by 6 3/4. And then the actual photo mat ivory that fits great in this pocket is 5 1/4 by 7. And then our tuck, this is one of the pocket pages. There's 2 in here. And I did another photo mat with that ivory cardstock, 5 1/4 by 7 1/2. And I added one little stickers. And then I took a strip of the blue that I had left over and I inked it. And then I rounded the corner so that it would match up with this. I also put a tab that I had cut off from another and put that on there. I didn't want a full tab on this because it would stick out of the book, because here we have 5 3/4. And if you can see, I took that and I only put the glue around the sides and the top so that you can slide another picture or something up underneath of this if you choose to. Super cute. Just another fun way to add a spot for pictures. So on the back side of my signature 2, I have one of the tags that I cut and added to the ivory cardstock, and then I took a hole punch. This is a piece of the ephemera, and I just took a hole punch and scissors to make it look like real paper. Another one of those paper clips, and this is a photo mat, and I did use a die from my stash. It's a nesting postage stamp die set that I had. You can do anything here that you like. And then I just glued that up across the top 3 corners so that a picture could slip underneath of there. And then this is another photo mat. Most of my photo mats are about the same size for these pages because our pages are 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. This one is 5 by 7. And then here I took one of the 4-inch elements from the sheet, and I fussy cut around that fun reel and the butterfly and left the bottom, and then I scored it at 1/4 of an inch on both of these sides so that it was tighter, not a super loose pocket like a 1/2 inch would give me. And then that just slides all in there. And the main purpose for this fun little paper clip is so that it holds this stuff in place. So you kind of have to maneuver it. I don't remember exactly where I had it that it was working, but it's heavier so it weighs everything down. So that is what I ended up doing in my tutorial. I just show how to make these pocket pages, but I wanted to make sure that you knew how I decorated. If you want to do the same, feel free to do whatever you want though. So for our signature 3, I kept this one pretty close. Let me just flip my page over here because I wrote notes to myself so that I would know what I changed and what I added. So here I added one of the trucks from the ephemera. I did take this and put it on lightweight chipboard before adding it to this to add a little bit of dimension. My magnetic belly band on here, which I don't think I show this in my tutorial, but it's 2 inches by 6, scored at half, and then it is placed before you place the paper on this back side, or excuse me, the paper on this first front cover, okay? And then I took one of the ephemera pieces here, and I glued that like a pocket, and so just glue down the side and across the bottom, one of those fun little tags again that slips right in there. And then this, of course, opens, which I do show in my tutorial how to make this. And this is just another photo mat, excuse me, that I made using the ivory from my stash. We have 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then I took paper and some of the stickers and made this. And this can just set right in here because there's a magnet right here. As long as you put this back far enough, sorry, I did that wrong. It goes here. This will still close over it. Okay. The back of signature 3, I do not go over this in my tutorial. However, I will go over the measurements with you now so that you can do this. So this was originally going to be a part, this cascading waterfall 2-piece set. This was going to be on signature 5. And I didn't like it, so I moved it to the back side of signature 3 and then added this. So what we have is the 2 waterfalls that were made for that signature 5 in my tutorial. So it's 3.5 and by 5, scored at 1/2 of an inch, both of these. And then I added paper to them. I added a tuck pocket with a piece of the striped paper back here that I can fit 2 of the tags that are backed with that ivory cardstock. Then I added this little element. So this is a 1.5 by 5.5 inch piece of the craft made into a belly band. And this 1/2 inch is under the pocket. Before you lay this pocket here down, you need to put this 1/2 inch underneath here and center it. Now there's a magnet right in the middle here. And then I added a piece of craft to the top of that is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 and added the 4 by 4 element. And my magnet is here. And it is, I'm trying to figure out where I put that magnet. It's here. Oh, it's under this first, the underside of the paper here. Just stick these back in here. All right, on to signature 4. Now, signature 4, I did not have this decorated in my tutorial. This was just a pocket page with our side pocket on the back done just exactly like the other pocket page, okay? But this one, I added a full waterfall, 4 pages, and those are the Artisan Craft, and they are 4 inches by 5.5, scored at half across the tops, and then adhered down, okay? And then what I did back here, just like the other one on this side, I put a piece of the striped paper that I had left over to cover my magnet. And then I put a tuck spot here after adding this. So this little element here is going to be it's a belly band that is 2 inches, and it is attached towards the middle of this piece. So 2 by 4.5 would work, 1/2 inch under your pocket. And then the overlaying piece is 3.25 by 4.25. Okay, and then I added one of the elements and some of that burgundy cardstock, Cartabella cardstock in the back. And that's where our magnet is housed. It's right here and under the red and white paper. Okay, and then this is another photo mat exactly like the other one. Again, you can stick something in the little pocket on the side. And I've rounded the corners on those because it makes them easier to slide in. And I like that little sweetie pie sticking out. It's one of the stickers from the collection. So the back of Signature 4 is done exactly the same as the other, and this pocket is shown in my tutorial. I have 3 of the tags that I grabbed. I love these because not only are they 3 of the colors, but they say live, laugh, love. So I put those all in, and then I have another one of my 5x7 photo mats, and I put one of the fun little stickers on there, and then these just tuck. So live, laugh, love. I just love that. Love. So that is Signature 4. Finally, Signature 5. Now, this is the one that was originally going to have the cascading waterfall under here. However, I chose not to do that as I was decorating, but you can still do it if you prefer it on this page or if you want it on both pages. So for this one, I still did the overlay flap piece that I go over. So this is flapped here. We have a magnet and a magnet, okay? I added a fun little corner tuck spot here, another little tuck spot here. Here's another one of those fun little clips that I made. And then I just have a couple smaller photo mats in here. This one, again, that red and white paper, you can tell I liked it. This is 4.25 by 5.25. This one is 3.25 by 4.25. So those are just photo mats. And then I just have some of the ephemera stuck in this cute little pocket, which I used the one of the 2x2s to make this. And I just glued it down here and up there. And then this flips open. You have this. And this is a method I'm sure you've seen many, many times. Tamara has done it. A couple other designers have done it. But I used my scraps and my signature pages. So Simple Stories is one of the companies that you don't want to throw away. So these are 12 by 12, but technically they're 12.5 by 12. And you have this across the top, which shows you what's on the back side. If you flip it over, we have a ruler to show you that that's this side. When you slice these off to get your 12 by 12, save them. These are wonderful for making these kind of pages. Now, I did use some larger scraps because those only fit on the ends of a 5.75 by 7.75 page, but it made for such a cute little page, and I love it. So our magnet is here and here again. Then on this back page, the last page of the book, I did a sliding belly band. Now, this is done simply by adding a belly band like you do any belly band. This one is 2 inches and it's 8.75, so it's scored at half and scored at half, placed on the page before the red paper that I put down. And we have a 5x7 photo mat here. This little element is one of the 4x4s, so this is cut to 4 and I do believe 1/4. Let me double check. Yeah, 4.25 by 4.25. And then I have some of the blue and then this 4x4 element. And this actually slides. So I made mine a little looser than I would have liked, but this is just looped. The paper is looped on the back and then slid through here so that this is slid down the belly band on that little loop. So it's works, but it's a little looser than I wanted it to be. So I may actually just go back and glue it down. So to do that, you would just take your element, your craft with the blue and your element, 4x4 element, and just glue it to your belly band. That's another option. For my last one here, this is a mirrored image of this one with our pocket, another one of those fun little paper clips. And then I just have, so I have a bifold in here. Again, there's that gorgeous striped paper. Love you a bunch. Another one that is a single, and another one that is a single that's like a note card. These are all elements from the paper cutout sheet. And then this just kind of holds them all down. And I might go back and add something to this. I didn't do it yet, and I wanted to get this video up and to you. So I'm trying to remember where this goes. I took it out of somewhere, and I want it back. Oh, I think it goes here. Yeah. All right. So that is the album. Next up will be the full tutorial of the pages. And again, oh, actually, there is one more thing. Almost forgot to tell you. So in my tutorial going forward, you will see me start, and then I will have a spot on the screen that tells you something to cut. What that is when I put my spine system down that holds my pages, my little accordion, I had forgotten to place paper over my spine to reinforce it. So I had to go back and fix that. And I didn't show that on camera, but I do tell you that you need to cut a piece of the craft 5.5 by 7 7/8 and place that over your spine. So in other words, you can see where I patched mine here. It would go all the way underneath of here and cover all of this. And I had forgotten to do that. So before you place the hinge system, you need to lay that down and put it on your book first. Okay. So up next is my tutorial on how to make the signatures. And I will also tell you, give you a little sneak peek, the leftover, this is a pretty extensive album, so I didn't have a lot of paper left over. I do have a lot of scraps. So what I'm going to do as a second project with this paper is make some fun, clean and simple cards that you can do using your scraps, using your stamps, using die cuts from your stash. Very, very simple little cards. And these ones are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 note cards that I'll be making. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the tutorial. All right, so I have my lay flat cover done. And there is, if you're not, excuse me, if you're not familiar with the lay flat method, I do have a link below in my description that will show you how to do the lay flat method and tell you the sizing. So basically, this one is a 6x8. Not sure what the one in my video is. It might be a 6x8. And this one has a 2.5 inch spine. So my chipboard was 6x8 twice and 2.5 by 8 for the middle. The paper to wrap it was 8 by 10 for these two and 5.5 by 10 for the spine. Now I have that all together. Now I'm going to show you how to make the piece that will hold the pages. And I've already done mine, but I will go over it again with you and let you know where the measurements are. This piece is going to be a 7.5 by 7 3/4 inch piece of the cardstock. And I'm using Artisan Craft for mine. And I already wrote it down. It's a little bit easier. So you want to put this on your scoreboard with the 7.5 going this direction. 7 3/4 is the length of our pages. And this is going to be scored at 1/4, which is your little bit of space, and it might hang over a little into the covers. 3/4, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, 7 1/4, and that is the last one. Now, This one looks like it says 7 3/8, but I'm not quite sure why that is. It's not the case here. Let me just double check my own. Yeah, 7 1/4. So when you do this, basically, when you make your spine, depending on what you want. Now, mine is 1/2 inch gussets, so it's a 1 inch space here. And then I have 1/2 inch and another gusset. So when you score this, you're going to fold these, leave that 1/4 inch of space, and then you have these 2 halves, skip a half, these 2 halves, skip a half, these 2 halves, skip a half, and so on. And then you have 1/2 inch spaces, okay? So then what you want to do is, whether you want to use glue or score tape is totally up to you. I am just going to use glue for the sake of video. I am just going to put some glue on one, or you can do both sides, but it will make a mess. I'm going to do one side of each one of these 1/2 inch mountain folds, but I'm on the back side, so right now they're valley folds. And this is going to give me 5 pages, okay? I'm sure that one's not very crisp, but that's what you should have, okay? And some people like to do these one at a time. I just do mine all at once. I've been doing this for so long that I find it easier just to do them all at once. And then just kind of push them together. You don't have to really get a really harsh burnish at first. I do mine from the underside and hold them just for a second on each one. They will try to pop open on you until you do your burnishing, but we want to make sure everything lines up before doing any burnishing. So, and it will also try to curl over on you, so you may have to turn it over a couple of times. And there's my last one. So now what I want to do is see, I got one that popped open. If you see one that wants to do that, just keep pushing it down until it's ready to stay closed. And once I have all those, I'm going to set this on my desk here. And I'm slowly going to pull them. I'm going to leave that 1/4 inch that I have on the side. And then I'm just going to burnish these so that that glue really sticks. Now, if you're using score tape, obviously it will stick right away. I just used glue this time for the sake of video. And I'm just going to go through each one and give them a really good burnish. And make sure they're all nice and straight, lining up with each other. And then I'm going to flip it and I'm going to burnish them on the opposite side. So again, I'm going to leave that 1/4 inch down there. And flip each 1/2 inch gusset over, and I'm going to burnish it. And once you make these, you will find your own ways to make them that are easier for you. Some people do them completely, many people do them completely different than I do. This is just one of the ways that I have learned to do them. So when you are finished, you should have 5 1/2 inch gussets and 4 1/2 inch spaces with a 1/4 inch on each side, okay? And that should be 2 1/2 inches. Now, if I measured everything correctly, which I have been known to not be so great at math, and yes, I have teensy bit more than 2 1/2, but that is okay. It just means that my gussets aren't folded as tightly as they could be, or my score lines might have been a tiny bit off. So then what you want to do is just bring it in and dry fit it on your spine of your album. And I can see that mine is going to fit perfectly. And it should fit right in that 2 inch space. Now, this is an 8 inch album, so you'll have 1/8 of an inch at the top and 1/8 of an inch at the bottom. Try to put this right in the middle. And we're going to have a couple pocket pages, and then we will have our flat pages. So for this one, the album that I'm making, the second and the 4th page are going to be pocket pages that will slide over. So these ones, I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to miter these so that the pocket pages slide over these a little bit easier. So I'm only going to do that to the second and fourth. Here's my fourth. You can do it to all of them if you choose to. But I like them that way mitered for the sake of it sliding over a little bit easier. These will just lay on here, so having them flat for me is better. So then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to fold it in on itself, if it will do it. And I'm going to add score tape. I'm going to go ahead and burnish this down a little bit better. I can see why mine's a tiny bit over 2.5 just by looking here. There's a couple of my score lines that went over a tiny bit. So if that happens, there's not a lot of worry there. Just do it as normal. You can kind of stretch it when you put it on the book. So I am using the 1/2 inch score tape that is available at the Country Craft Creations store. And I'm going to use a tear tool here, and I am just going to run this 1/2 inch score tape all the way from top to bottom. Try to get them as close as you can. As you can see, mine went off a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody sees this tape. And then I should have enough to go all the way over, but I'm thinking I might have to do, yeah, so I am going to use a little bit skinnier tape on this outside edge because I am noticing that it is probably going to hang over if I don't. So I get this as close to this edge as I can. And then we'll burnish this out nicely. I'm going to use a flatter bone folder, or excuse me, smoothing tool, just to get all that tape nice and smooth. So pull off your sticky tape from one side. So I'm just going to do these first 2 pieces. First, so I can make sure everything lines up. I don't want to pull everything off and stick it on there and then try to pull it off. So I want about 1/8 of an inch from the top. So I am just going to set my ruler on here, kind of eyeball this. And remember, that 1/4 of an inch should line up pretty closely with your, I'm having a little bit of extra space here. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Is this 7.5 or 7 3/4? I need to double check my own measuring here. It's 7 3/4. And this is 8, correct? Correct, yeah. It just seems bigger because it's craft. It's kind of an optical illusion, I think. So we're going to line that up. Try to have the same amount of space on the top as you do on the bottom. And golden. Okay. So then, now that that's lined up, I can start to press down where the tape is taken off. And then you can just go underneath and pull off your tape. And because I'm using tape, if you use glue, it's not as easy to flex your spine piece. But if you're using tape, sometimes you can pull and stretch it a little bit to make it fit better if it's having any kind of issues. And I just run along each one with my finger to kind of line them up. And then I will go in and really press that in. So if there is any overhang, I can see what it is I got my measuring off just a little tad bit there, and because of that, but see, I still have 1/4 of an inch of space on either side. So just go in and burnish this down. Make sure all of your 1/2 inch spaces are stuck to that spine piece really, really well. And like I said, this album is going to have 5 pages, 2 of which are pocket pages, 3 are interactive pages. Okay, so here you have your 5 pages, 2 of which we mitered, and the rest are just straight. Now, like I said, you can miter them all if you choose to. I didn't choose to do that this time. So here is our book, ready for our signatures to go in. So next up, we will start working on the signatures. All right, so now we're going to get started on the signatures. There are 5. I did do my decorating for the outer portion of my album, as you can see. And I did a different style of closure with my ribbon this time. So what I did here is I took the burgundy paper first, and I put my ribbon in the middle, and I just put it under the edge of the burgundy paper on the underside, and I put a little piece of score tape there to hold it. And then I placed my blue paper down on top of that. I also put score tape across the blue paper where the ribbon was going to go, and it helped guide me. And then you can see that little pop of the ribbon, and I kind of liked that look. So if you want to do that, that is just an idea. Now, I hope you have a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen to write down measurements, because I do not have a cut guide, but I will be giving you all of the measurements for the signatures, as I had done for the album itself at the beginning. Again, I will go over it again. It is a 6x8 album done in the lay flat method, which I have linked below. And it's 2 6x8 pieces of chipboard, a 2.5-inch spine, so 2.5 by 8 here. Our signatures will all be 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. 2 of them pocket, 3 of them regular interactive pages. So in case you want to do your matting just like I do, I like to have 1/8 of an inch, sometimes a little bit more. Sometimes I will, when I cut my papers, I go over a little because maybe I just want to see that little touch of red or that little touch of blue, and I don't want as much of it to show, but I want that matting. So for a 6x8 album, if you're double matting, your first mat would be 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. Your second 5 3/4 by 7 3/4, and then your decorative paper on top is 5 and I have to look 5 5/8 by 7 5/8. And then for the spine, you will have the bottom, the red here is 2 3/8 by 7 7/8, 2 3/4, or wait, 2 1/4, I'm sorry, by 7 3/4. And then this one here would be 2 by 7 5/8. Okay, so that is the measurements for your decorating if you wanted to write those down. And like I said, I cut mine a little bit over that mark. If it's 3/4, I go just a tick mark over, like a 1/16 more, if I want really shallow matting like I have there. So let's get on to signature number 1. And signature number 1, I have used the Heartfelt Creations album tags and accents die system. I used this one here, and I will be using this one for the paper to cover it. So this set here is what I've used so far. So if you have that, great. If you don't, you can scallop your edge using a punch system or even your Cricut machine. If you have one of those, you can do anything you like. You can just add in a border, or you can just simply make your flap square for this signature. So I have everything, excuse me, I have everything here. Now, the page pieces that are needed here, I'm just going to pull this all apart. I have lots of things put together with paper clips and such at the moment. Get my little paper clip box out. So the flat piece is 4 1/8 by 8 1/2, and we're going to score this at 1/2 inch across the top. And then I just put that die in my machine and die cut the bottom. So we will clip this off, and you can do it round, you can do it square, you can do it however you like, but you don't need that little extra overhang. And I will probably fix that with my cutter and make it all one piece. We'll see. So I'm just going to throw away. I like to have a little scrap bin to throw away my scraps. So that is that piece. And then you will also need to cut yourself a angled pocket. That's going to be a tuck pocket. Now, this angled pocket, I was using what I had left over in my craft cardstock. Mine goes down the page about, let's see here. It's at 2.5, and then there's like a 1/2 inch at the bottom showing. So if you're doing yours exactly like mine, that's how you would do that. Mine measures 5 1/4 on this side and 5 1/4 across the bottom as well. So if you have extra cardstock, which I did not, you can put your gussets on, add a 1/2 inch to your cut on the bottom and the side, and score them at 1/2 inch. I did not have enough, so I used scraps and made 2 1 inch by 5 inch pieces that I will score at 1/2 and add to that pocket. Of course, our base page is 5 3/4 by 7 3/4, and I will be adding everything to that. And then this is our back side. So let's do the front side first. And it's super simple. Now, I cannot attach my pocket because I have to do my decorating, but I will show you how this will work. So first, grab your 1 inch by 5 inch pieces, and we are just going to score those right down the middle at 1/2 inch, both of those, okay? Get those folded over nicely. This one must have went a little over 1 inch because it is not lining up. Happens. And then you just want to miter these, both corners. And you can go in a little bit. They can be a tiny bit shorter because they will meet and we will have to do some adjusting. I don't know why that one is so much bigger on one side. Like I said, it happens. So you'll have 2 that look like so if you're doing it this way. If you're not doing it this way, you will have just scored this down the side and the bottom at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to adhere these. First, I'm going to dry fit them and make sure that they're going to work, because we're going to have to do some trimming with these. I'm going to, let's try the bottom one first. Yes, okay. So first I am going to open up my glue, and I'm just going to add glue to that bottom portion of my gusset that I made. And then I just want to line it up. And you can do this holding it in your hand. You can put it on your table. I don't want to put it on my scoreboard because I don't have one of those fun little mats that allows you to not get glue everywhere. So I'm going to pull this out of camera, and I'm just going to go ahead and burnish that down really well. And as you can see, the little corner still will stick out. It'll glue, but we will be putting another piece across our bottom. Let me make sure I have this situated right. Yes, okay. And then I'm going to add the other one, and it will be like so. I'm going to go ahead and burnish this one a little bit better because the other one didn't want to lay down very well because I didn't burnish it first. So we will add glue and then just kind of overlap. You can see where this one lines up here, and I am going to lay it down and then pick it up because I don't want that glue all over my scoreboard. And get it right up to that edge. You don't want to have any excess. I don't want a floating pocket, so I want this up as close to that edge as I can possibly get it. And it's being difficult. All right. So now you see that you have pockets that overhang. So this bottom one we're going to miter even more. We're going to go all the way back and miter upward. And that way, when this closes, these won't overlap, okay? But as you can see a little bit of this. So I'm just going to trim where that shows, and this one doesn't, so we're okay there. Like I said, it takes a little bit of trimming. And then when I do an angled pocket like this, I don't like to see this point. Now, if you don't mind it, that is totally up to you. I like to square mine off. So I just cut that little tip off the ends, and that gives me a squared off pocket. And then you'll have to use it to make a template for your paper to cover it as well. So this is where this will go, okay? And we'll have a magnet under the paper on this so that this has something to attach to. Oh, excuse me, it goes this way. All right? So for this piece, this one we can put on the signature. We're going to score this at 1/2 inch. And we are going to fold that and burnish it and dry fit it first just to make sure that this is going to work out. So this will be on here like so. Try to line this to the middle of the page. And this will fold down. See, it's a little bit long. So I made my paper a little bit long. Easy to fix. What we're going to do is I'm going to take this to 3/4 inch rather than the 1/2. Fold it. It's easier to score to find the proper fit, or you can just measure it right away. It just depends on what you use to make your bottom, if anything. If you're not using anything to make the bottom a fancy look, you can just square it off and measure it to a perfect size. But when I'm adding it die cut edge to it, I need to make sure that we're going to fit, and that is much better. Okay. And this will tell me where I will need to put my magnet. It's going to go right underneath of this, and there will be a magnet on the pocket as well that will hold this down. Okay. So with the sizing that I did, I needed mine to be a 3/4 inch score line, which is fine. It doesn't matter how much paper you put on here. As long as you do it before you add your decorative paper, it's not going to make a difference. And I'm not really liking this kind of square that's left over, so I'm just going to kind of round it by hand. I may have to adjust the die when I add it with the decorative paper. I will do my decorating, excuse me, off camera, and you will have seen that in the walkthrough. So let me just see how this is going to look. I'm going to dry fit my die on here. Yeah, so we're going to want to cut the edges of this off, and then I will tell you. I'm going to go ahead and cut this to the size of the die, and I will let you know what the width of this was. It started at 4 1/8, but I think we're going to end up taking about 1/4 inch off of here when I cut these sides off. I'm going to line this up on my cutter. Cut those off. Let's line this up on the cutter. I'm just trying to get it right where that rounded edge meets my blade so that I only cut off that extra side. I'm looking a little wonky here. I don't want wonky. There we go. So then it ends up being 4 inches, which is totally fine. By when it's done, so it meets in the right spot, it's 7 5/8. Okay, and that's with that 3/4. So I started with 8 3/8, and then I did the 3/4. So it made me have 7 5/8 when I did the die cut. You always want to cut it a little long if you're using a die that needs to go through your machine just at the very end, which is what I did here. I put it on my paper and then I just ran it through my Big Shot to here so that I didn't cut any more than just to the top corner off. And that is doable on a machine. So I'm going to burnish this out really, really well and clip off any excess. My cutter didn't get that little end there. And you do not have to miter this. You can. I'm not going to this time. Instead, I am just going to, so we have 4 inches. And I want to kind of try to line this up to the front or to the middle of the top of my page. So I'm going to eyeball mine. If you want to measure and draw some tick marks on yours, that would work too. I don't need mine absolutely perfect, so I am just doing it this way. And as you can see, now when we put our pocket on, after I decorate, I will be able to add my pocket like so. I'll go ahead and clip this down so that I can show you without it falling. So there will be a magnet. You'll want to line this up like so. See where this is at and put your magnet on. And I can actually do that and show you really quick. Let's just grab a magnet, set a plus and a minus. And I am using the basic gray small magnets that are available at the Country Craft Creations store. So I am going to pull off the sticky from one side. And I have this on here. I'm actually going to use a paper clip to guide me here so that I don't do this off center. Paper clips can be my friend. All right, so now I want to put this underneath on that little rounded edge there. Enough that I'll be able to put paper on it. Okay, and then just peel the back off of the minus. And dry fit it down. And lift up, and then your magnets will be ready to go when you put your paper on. That's where our magnets will go. So you'll want to put your paper down here, your just decorative paper, which will be 5 and 5/8 if you're doing an 8 like I do, by 7 5/8. So your decorative paper would be 5 5/8 by 7 5/8. If you're matting your pages, which I am not, you would do that for your mat and then the next size down. Okay. So that is that side of the first signature. I'm going to go ahead and flip this. This will go in the book like so. We're going to have it this. So this is our page 1. This is our page 2. Okay. So this is the part that will be attached to the spine. So you don't want to add anything to this. So for this, I have a side flap that is 5 inches by 5.5 inches by 7 inches. And it was scored at 1/2 inch. So you put this on your scoreboard. Oh, this is actually 5 3. I scored it at 3/4. Interesting. Okay. You can do 5.5 by 7 and then score at 1/2 inch. It'll still give you the 5. Mine, for some reason, is 5 3/4, and I scored at 3/4. I don't know why I did that. So this will also have a magnet, and it's okay that it's 5 3/4. I'm just going to pull this out. This is another one that is a little bit smaller. It's just kind of a flap over. We're also going to have a little keepsake pocket that goes on the front portion of this flap. So this needs to be centered somewhere as well as can be into the middle of the page. And we're also going to have a magnet here. And like I said, a little keepsake pocket. Now you could put another pocket behind here if you choose to. I am going to add glue to my flap. Like I said, if you do this 5.5 by 7, you'll have a 1/2 inch flap here. For some reason, I cut mine at 5 3/4. I still don't know why I did that. I was probably tired when I made these. So it happens. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that is lined up and can open. And I will just get that all burnished out. And that will be this page. Okay. So for the magnet on this one, again, we're going to grab a plus and a minus when they come out. And I always put mine together. Make sure your stickies are on the outside. And, you know, if I would use a tool, I could probably get this off a lot easier. Yeah. So this is a door, but we want to be able to put paper on here. Okay. So don't put it right at the edge because then your paper won't lay down over the top of the magnet. So I like to put mine back about a 1/2 inch, somewhere in the middle of the page. And then we will remove the sticky, close our book, or our little our signature, lift up, and there's your magnet. Okay. Then I have a little keepsake pocket, 5 1/2 by 3 1/2. And we are going to score this one. Get rid of my sticky papers here all over the place. I'm sorry, this is 5 by 3 1/2. I read that wrong. So 5 inches across the top. We are going to score at 1/2, score at 4 1/2, so you have a 1/2 at the end, and then flip it and score at 1/2. Okay, and then we just want to miter right at that cross section of your score lines. And we will fold all of our score lines. Make sure they're not touching each other. And this, once it's decorated, I'm not going to put this on now, we'll go right on the front of this for a tag or something. And I will put it probably right about a 1/2 inch all the way around. So 1/2 inch on the sides, 1/2 inch on the bottom. And I'll stick a tag or something in that pocket. And then this will be magnetized. And the back page will just be for photos. So that is signature number 1. Signature number 2 is going to be one of our pocket pages. Okay. So for this one, it'll have some side pockets. You'll have 2 pieces that are 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. Okay. And what we're going to do with those is we are going to score these at 1/2 inch on one end, both of them. Okay. Then what you want to do, I'm going to go ahead and miter these. Make this a little bit simpler. Oh, that didn't score all the way down. Let's fix that. Need to make sure my scoring goes all the way to the end of the paper. Miter and miter. Okay. And then you're going to fold your score lines and burnish on both of them. And you will do this twice. We have 2 signatures that are pocket pages. And now what you're going to do is you are going to get my scoreboard out of the way first. Turn these so that you have one with a 1/2 inch flap on the right, one with a 1/2 inch flap on the left. Okay. Add glue to whichever one you want to start with. I am starting with my left. Add glue to that flap. And then I'm going to pick this up because I really want this even. Get that all the way up to that edge. And burnish. And this one you'll be able to lift up your paper and burnish underneath as well. Okay. Now we're going to burnish this the right side flap really, really well, and then add our glue. Okay. And then you want to push this down and make sure that you go towards that flap. So you want to make sure that when you smooth this out, that it doesn't pop open too much. So you want to make sure it's nice and even, and you want to do your burnishing to the right if you're doing the right side, to the left if you're doing the left side. That just ensures that everything lays down nice and flat and gives you this nice pocket page. Okay, and that is our first pocket page, which mine looks like it's a little uneven here, so I am going to pull mine before my glue dries really quick and see what happened there. Oops. I can fix this. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue back on that flap. I don't mind showing y'all when I mess up so you can see how to fix it. And then I'm just going to line my paper so that I can tell. Whoops, I don't need that sticky thing on there. So now I can see that I needed to line it up a little bit better. There we go. Okay. And that will happen with these sometimes. So this is our pocket page. So for this pocket page, now I have not distinguished yet what I'm going to put as far as the back sides of my pocket pages. But the front side will have a side pocket that will go to the right. And the side gusseted pocket is 3.5 by 8 3/4. And I cannot glue this down, but I can show you how it goes. So we're going to go on the 3.5, and we were going to score at 3. Or you can score at 1/2, either one, as long as you get that 1/2 inch. Then you want to put it on the 8 3/4 side, score at 1/2, and score at 8 1/4, so you get that other side 1/2. We're going to miter right at the cross section and fold on the score lines, and we will burnish. And if you have a bunch of overhang, meaning these flaps touch, this one is perfect. This one, not so much. So I'm going to miter this one just a little bit more. You can always tell because it's right above that score line. I didn't quite get it where I wanted it. So this will go, this faces this direction. So this is our page 3, and this is our first pocket page. This is going to go on the edge, on the side that opens. This will be on our spine. So then a nice photo mat will go inside of here. And as I said before, I'm not sure what I'm doing with the backs, but as soon as I figure it out, I will add that to the video. If I do anything, I may just leave them with the decorative paper as their own photo page, and maybe add some corners or something. But this will be our first pocket page, and I will not be putting that down until I do my decorating. So when you do put it down, after your decorating is done, you can add your glue to your 3 flaps and then put it this way so the opening is on this side. Okay? And you can do it the other way too if you want your opening this way. So that is that page. I'm going to go ahead and line these up. Signature number 3. This is a 12 by 7 3/4 piece of the craft cardstock. Now, I have scored this at 5 3/4 and at 5 7/8, or excuse me, 8 7/8. So this will have a fold over this way. I'm going to go ahead and burnish my score lines. And then it will also fold this way, as you can see, okay? And then what goes on this, we will decorate this, and it will go like so with a magnet here. I can't do that till I decorate. So you would do the magnet the same way that I did the last two. We'll put one here. I can put it on there and show you. I have one more set in this package, and then I have to open them up. Another one. Good thing I have another one. So again, I have my magnets together. I'm going to peel off the plus side. I'm going to try to figure out exactly where this is going to go. So just kind of dry fit, because like I said, this needs to be decorated before adding it to the page. It will be part of the back side of this flap. So let's see here. So I'm going to lift this up and find a spot under there, kind of willy-nilly, and put my magnet on, peel off the minus adhesive. Then we will pull my paper off there, or it's going to stick to that instead of my paper, or instead of my signature. So just kind of eyeball this to right about the middle. You'll have a little more than 1/2 inch on the top and the bottom, and about 1/2 inch on the sides. Let that go, and there's my magnet. Okay, and that's all that needs to be done with this part of this page. Now we're going to flip it over. Again, remembering that this is going on the spine, so anything you do needs to be on this side, because this will be connected to the spine. This I'm also not going to do, but I will show you because it has to be decorated. So this is going to have a 4-page waterfall with a belly band that closes it. So for this one, the 4-page waterfall is 4 pieces of 4 by 5.5, and we're going to score all of these at 1/2 inch across the top. So 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, whoa, my score tool decided to go rogue on me there, and 1/2 inch. So you'll have 4 pieces that are 1/2 inch, and those will go on the back side here. And like I said, I'm going to do some sort of a closure. I think I'm going to do, I don't necessarily want to do a magnet because we have a magnet on the other side here and it might interfere. But then again, it might just be stronger. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold and burnish these. I'm not going to adhere them. Like I said, they need to be decorated first, and so does the page. So I am just going to fold all these and burnish them. All right, and I need to make sure that these are all going to fit. So you would essentially start these at the top. Let's just turn this into an easy. Now you can put your waterfall down on its own piece of paper, or put it on the paper before you adhere it to here, to ensure that your waterfall is nice and straight and lined up. I am just doing this kind of as a dry fit to make sure that this is going to fit right in the middle of the page where I want it, because I'm not going to start this right at the top. I'm going to put it here. This side. Okay. Next one is another one of our pocket pages. So it's done exactly the same way. You have 2 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. And we're going to score those both at 1/2 inch on one side only. My sticky notes are getting in my way. 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And I'm going to miter these slightly. Not a huge miter, just enough. It helps the paper lay down a little bit better when you adhere them this way. All right, fold and burnish both of those score lines. And again, I am going to start on the right. Add glue to my 1/2 inch flap. And I am going to line this up. I'll use my scoreboard this time so I don't have the same problem I had last time. I don't always use my scoreboard because I'm so afraid I'm going to get glue all over it, but since I had an issue lining up the papers last time, I thought maybe I would try it again. So I'm just burnishing out all that glue. I'm going to give this a really good burnish. And add glue to that one on the left. And then make sure everything is lining up nicely. And I'm going to use a smoothing tool and go up to that left side. Just to make sure everything is nice and burnished. And there's our second pocket page. And this is another one that will have the gusseted pocket, 3.5 by 8 3/4. On the 8 3/4, you will score it a half and 8 1/4. And then we're going to turn so that the 3.5 is above and score at half. Again, we're going to miter, add that cross section, and fold down those pocket or those flaps. Make sure nothing is overlapping. And it's not, so I'm good there. All right, and there's our pocket. This one, again, pocket page. We're going to put this so that the end, the closed end, is here where it opens for a photo mat, and then you'll have a photo mat here as well. Okay, so you'll just glue, just like the other pocket page, those 3 sides and place it down. So now we have our final signature, the 5th signature, and this is going to be, I need to turn this the right way first. Put that back. So on this one, you have your 5 3/4 by 7 3/4 page for starters. We're going to have a side flap on this with a magnet, just like the other page. And this is going to have some cascading photo waterfalls. Okay, so this is another one. I got to do my decorating, and then I can come back and show you how they're going to go on. So for the page, you have your base page, 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. And I am going to pull this stuff for the back side off. Then you have a 6 inch by 6 3/4 inch piece. Okay, 6 inch, 6 3/4. Put it on the 6 inch and go ahead and score that at 1/2 of an inch. Okay. You can miter or not miter here. It does not really matter. This one is a preference thing. Go ahead and burnish that. And now this one we want this way. The other one opened the opposite direction, I do believe. So we're going to put this one on this way. And I am going to go ahead and do that. Don't need to decorate this one first. So just add glue to your 1/2 inch flap. This is our page 9. And then I'm going to put this right about the middle. I'm just going to eyeball it. Actually, flip it this way. It makes it a little bit easier. So we have 6 3/4. So it would be about, line that up as good as I can. Nope, that's not it. I am not a master at math for sure. All right, I think I'm getting this as close to the middle of the page as I possibly can without measuring. So let's see, how did that work? Yep, that's fine. A little crooked. Let's fix that. I don't want crooked. Is it crooked? Nope, that's good. Phew. Okay. So this will open this way. Okay. Cascading waterfalls. There's just 2 of them. These are just for photos. You're going to have 2 pieces that measure 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. Okay. I'm going to turn those so that your 5 3/4 is on your scoreboard and score it 1/2 inch. Okay. Do that on both. The last final page, we're going to have a belly band that has a sliding 4x4 cutout. So basically what I have here is a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of paper. I'm going to take a 4 1/8 by 4 1/8 piece of either the blue or the red, and then one of the 4x4 elements from the paper collection and put it on here. Nothing on the back because this is going to slide. So what you will need for this, and again, I cannot put this on here until I cut my decorative papers. We're going to cut this piece, your belly band, is 8 3/4 by 2. So you want to put it on your scoreboard at the 8 3/4, score it at 2, or excuse me, at 1/2, and then score it at 8 1/4. And that's going to give you your 1/2 inch gussets. Okay. Now what we need is a piece of scrap, which I'm going to cut or grab from my bin. I'm sure I have something over here in my... It's not really going to matter what the width of it is. So I have a piece here of scrap that is a 1 inch, and it's definitely longer than what we need. So this piece, I'm not going to decorate it yet, but we're going to flip it to the back side. I'm going to leave my stuff on there so that I know. Basically, what's going to happen is this will be on the page, right? And then we need this to wrap around our belly band, but loose enough that it will slide. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down, and then I will tell you how big this is. And I'm also going to fold it over and tell you how to score it. So what I ended up with was 1 inch by 4 7/8, and it would be a score mark at 3 and 1 at 4 1/8. Okay, so then we just want to line this up and make sure it all lines up, because we're going to have to make sure that it moves on our belly band. Go ahead and add glue just to that little bit. Being careful not to get this too tight. All right. And then we want to make sure that it slides. And see, I might have got this. Nope, that's fine. Okay. Now, I'm probably going to have to make it a little bit bigger, though, because once we have decorative paper on here, this is going to be a little bit tighter. So I'm just going to loosen this up. I'm going to do a new one, actually. I apologize for that. I didn't think about the fact that we would have decorative paper on there. So let me just cut another 1 inch strip of craft. And I will wrap it around looser so that we can see what is needed. Because you have to do it fairly loose, especially when there's going to be decorative paper on the belly band itself. So I want to make sure that I don't make it too tight. And that should be fine right there. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this down. And this one ends up being 5.5 by that 1 inch, and then it's scored at 1 3/4 and 3 7/8, and that should be much better. And I'm trying not to burnish it too much because I want to make sure that it fits. So go ahead and slide it onto your belly band first. And you want the raw side forward. That needs to attach to this. If you have it on the back, it'll get hung up on everything. So let's just make sure this slides nicely and has a little extra room because we're going to have decorative paper on it. And I'm going to go ahead and glue it down a little bit more. Get a cloth here. All right, now we should have no problem, and we can just pull that off. Okay, this will go on your page, and then this will attach to this, and this will move up and down. Okay, so that is all the signatures. Now I'm going to show you with one how to put them in case you don't know. And I'm just going to grab, we'll do one of the regulars and one of the pocket pages. So this is one of the pocket pages. I'm going to remove my little envelope from it, which will be the ones that we scored when we put the spine on. Okay, so for these, we're going to add score tape. I'm going to go to my second one because we're doing a pocket page first here. And I want to put this all the way, let's see here if it's attached there. You could do it in the middle. I'm going to do mine all the way up to the edge because, well, just because. Tear that off on both sides. All right. And then I'm just going to burnish that down really, really well. And I'm going to peel this back part way, not all the way, just part way. And just bend it, and then you'll be able to see. That gives me time to line up my pocket page before I actually adhere it. So, just want to line it up on there. And that looks good. And there we go. So that one is down. Now we're just going to go underneath with our little pokey tool and grab a hold of your tape backing and pull it out of there. Carefully, obviously you don't want to pull your paper apart. And push that down. And there is our first page. So you'll have your pocket there. Now we can go ahead and put one of these on so I can show you how to do these. Now these are done the same way with the difference of, being that these only have, where is my front page? Grabbing all the wrong ones here because my magnet's stuck together. That's not it. There it is. Okay. Take all this excess stuff off. So this is our first page. This was the one that had the magnet back here, has a magnet here, which isn't sticking. Oh, it goes on the pocket. Losing my mind here. So this little edge right here, you need to make sure that you made this the right size, because if you didn't, you won't have room to put this. And this will only have tape on the one side, not both. So we're just going to run our tape close to that edge. just gonna have enough. And want that little piece hanging off there. And I'm just gonna peel this off. And what I like to do is line mine up with the other page. So I want to, before this sticks, I want to set it right with the top of the other one and the bottom. And then I can use that tape line to help me make sure that I'm getting it on straight. Just like so. And there you have the next page. Burnish that down, and there is our first page. And you would just do the rest of them the same exact way. Tape on one side for regular signatures, tape on both sides for your pocket pages. And then I also will give you another tip here. I like to take a longer bone folder with the pocket pages and just kind of run it down in there just to make sure that it's sitting right with the tape here. And so I know I can get something inside the pocket. And remember, you have a 1/2 inch here. So when you make your, whatever you're going to put in the pocket, if you don't want it to stick out at all, you need to take that 1/2 inch off of the sizing. So instead of 5 3/4, you've only technically got, if I stick a ruler in there, I can show you 5 1/4. Yeah, see, 5 inches fits perfectly without having any problem. Okay,